Together, may we give our children the roots to grow and the wings to fly. We believe in such a partnership between the school and the parents that reinforces the process of implementing and improving the academic and behavioral performance of our students. Good evening to all present here. I, Deepa Karkada, welcome each one of you to the first parent-teacher meeting of the academic year 2021-22. We appreciate you for taking time off your busy schedule to join us today. Prayer is the key to success to all our endeavors. Let's begin this session by invoking the blessings of God Almighty with a prayer song. All that I am, all that I have, I lay down before you, oh Lord. All my defense, all my acclaim, the joy and the pain, I am making them yours. Lord, I offer my life to you, everything I've been through. Use it for your glory, Lord. I offer my days, lifting my praise to you as a blazing sacrifice. Lord, I offer you my life. Things in the past, things can't see. It was indeed a prayerful environment. A perfect host, it is said, is one who sounds the note of welcome. I now request our Vice Principal, Miss Laurel D'Souza, to welcome the gathering.
Education is not the name of any degree or certificate that can be shown to others as proof, but education is the name of our attitude, actions, language, personality, and behavior with others in real life. Respected Principal, Reverend Father Melvin Anil Lobo SJ, today's resource person, Dr. Shalini Ayyappa, faculty members, and parents, a very warm evening to all. It is believed that responsibility gravitates to the person who can shoulder it. Today, we have a Mrs. an eminent personality, Dr. Shalini Ayyappa, the Assistant Professor and Head of Department of Psychology at St. Aloysius College, Mangaluru. Dr. Shalini completed her doctorate in psychology with a special focus on adolescent psychology in 2015 under Mangalore University. She has been conducting many workshops, seminars, lectures, all India radio talks on various psychology related topics for the past 10 years, which has benefited many students, parents, and teachers. She is the trustee at Prajna Counseling Center since 2005, a member of the American Psychological Association, and a life member of the Indian School Psychology Association. Dr. Shalini has the credit of presenting innumerable research papers in national and international level journals. She is an ongoing learner and continues to research in her field. We are truly blessed to have Dr. Shalini Ayyappa as the resource person for our parent teachers meeting today. A hearty welcome to you, ma'am. A warm welcome to our dear principal, Reverend Father Melvin Anil Lobo SJ, who has been a guiding light all through. Welcome, Father.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm delighted to welcome our beloved parents who are present with us for today's program despite their multifarious commitments. I also welcome my dear colleagues for today's gathering. Thank you, and once again, welcome to one and all.
Thank you, ma'am, for the cheerful welcome. A person who is an inspiration for most of us, a pillar of support and guidance, who enthuses all of us with his warm and wise words, is our principal, Father Melvin Anil Lobo SJ. I request our principal now to address the gathering. Yeah.
So good evening, parents. First of all, a hearty welcome to all of you. There are nearly 115 parents here. I'm sure a few more will join now. So you have kept aside all your busy schedule and come for this meeting. Of course, due to the pandemic situation, we are not able to have the face-to-face interaction, but definitely after some days or weeks, we will call you to the school and maybe inform you a few other things. But as of today or as of now, we would like to give you some briefing about what is happening. First of all, briefing to the new academic year 2021-22. First of all, I would like to put you all to the context. We are in the situation of pandemic. The COVID-19 struck the world last year. Ever since, things have not been usual. We already had two waves. The second wave was quite deadly, and it has taken the lives of so many, including our own dear and near ones. Many of us have been infected and have gone through that difficult moments. However, I would like to tell you that learning has been continued last 1 year, and we still continue with the online mode. Though, of course, this year we wanted to start with the offline classes, but the second wave prevailed, and we have started with the online mode this year as well. It has been a challenging time for all of us, to the management, teachers, students, and parents, to switch over from physical classes to online classes. All of us have faced difficulties. In different ways, we have faced this situation. As long as physical classes are not available, we need to adapt ourselves to the situation and make best of the situation. We know the teachers all have tried their best, and in fact they have adapted themselves to the online mode. So also I really am happy that students too have adapted themselves, and now even the parents are in a frame of mind to continue this online classes, though it may not be for a long time, but at least for the moment to accept and adjust with this situation. The second context of ours is NEP 2020. As you know, National Education Policy has been brought in, and the government of India has brought out this new education policy last year. And there are some salient features of this national education policy. One of the resource persons has already briefed all the parents last year. Dr. Flossie D'Souza from St. Anne's Institute of Education was a resource person last year, and she has briefed you. But one or two things which are important, which I need to inform all of you. First of all, the academic structure being changed. Earlier it was 10 plus 2, that means class 1 to 10, and 2 is class 11th and 12th. Now the whole academic structure has been viewed 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. What is this 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4? First 5 years are foundational years. That is, you have pre-primary for 3 years, pre-KG, KG1, KG2, and 2 years, class 1 and class 2. That forms foundational 5 years, and these are the pre-primary education. Then we have a preparatory 3 years, class 3 to 5. Class 3 to 5 is a preparatory for the middle school. So this is 3 years of schooling. Then we have middle school 3 years, class 6 to 8. Then secondary education 4 years, class 9 to 12 years. So 11th and 12th was not very much part of the primary and secondary education. In state of Karnataka, it was called as PUC first and second year, but now it has been merged into the secondary education. In our school, pre-KG has been already introduced. We already had 1 year. Because of the pandemic, we have just kept it under suspension mode. But once the pandemic is over, we will start with pre-KG. Class 11th and 12th will be started next year. We already obtained the permission, and we will be starting the 11th standard from the academic year 2022-23. That means next year, the students who are in the class 10th this year can very well apply themselves for 11th standard in St. Aloysius Gonzaga School. Of course, we will be starting only with the science stream. The NEP also mandates that skill courses to be introduced by the school, but though it is not mandatory, 6 to 8, it is 12 hours of skill courses, and 9 to 12, it is one paper which is optional. So far, it has not been made mandatory. It is optional, but however, the CBSE wants or encourages and wants most of the schools to take up this so that students have skills with them. The last aspect is innovative pedagogies to be introduced. Why? Because students have to move from rote learning to meaningful learning, and therefore lots of new pedagogies have been introduced, like experiential learning, art-based, art-integrated, sports integrated, playway method, activity-based method, all these innovative methods being mentioned, and they will be taken forward. The third context is 500th anniversary of the founders' conversion. As you know, St. Ignatius of Loyola is the founder of Jesuit organization, and St. Aloysius Gonzaga, as well as the entire St. Aloysius institution, is part of this Society of Jesus, that is Jesuits, and St. Ignatius of Loyola is the founder of that organization. St. Ignatius of Loyola is remembered in history. All of us know his name because of Counter-Reformation. He is also known for starting the modern education in Europe. If at all the modern education has come about, the one who initiated it is none other than St. Ignatius of Loyola. And his men were called schoolmasters of Europe. They were so famous and so initiated so many schools and colleges. They were well known as schoolmasters of Europe. In 1529, battle in Pamplona and wounding of Ignatius of Loyola, followed by his conversion. So 1521, he was wounded in Pamplona. He belonged to the Spanish group, and he was attacked by the French, and that is how the whole attack took place, and he was wounded. And thereafter, the conversion. What we are celebrating is the 500th anniversary of the conversion of St. Ignatius of Loyola. It is an important event for the organization. This year is celebrated as the Ignatian year by the organization. All the institutions will be celebrating this. It is a time to reflect on the life transforming education provided by the organization. The organization all across the world has so many institutions. World over, there are 3,897 educational institutions, including universities, in 96 countries. There are 29,28,806 students studying in all these institutions. In India alone, we have 363 educational institutions, 11,525 teachers, and 3,34,538 students all over in India. And in these 3,34,538, there are 1,200 students of St. Aloysius Gonzaga. One man's transforming experience having an impact on the world. So you can imagine, if one person gets transformed, the whole world can be in a way transformed. We have a beautiful example in the person of Father Stan Swami, who died yesterday, and perhaps in whole over India, his memory is commemorated and he is remembered so much by everyone. That is the impact of this organization and the men and persons who are in it, as well as the persons who are groomed by this institution. There are tall leaders all over the world who are contributing so much for the transformation of the world. The second aspect that I would like to talk to you, dear parents, changes by CBSE. We had two important circulars come from the CBSE. First one, number 3, dated 22/4/2021, and in that circular, one important thing that was brought out, that is weightage to various type of questions. And they mentioned first time 30% competency based questions will be asked in the question paper, which includes multiple choice questions, case based or source based. So these are all multi choice questions, but they are all case based or source based. The students will be trained in that, but what is important is perhaps 30% weightage is given out of 80 marks. What does that mean? It means that students have to answer application based questions. They are not very much related to what there in the notebook or the textbook, but they have a relation to the text or the notes that the content that has been taught to the students. So the students should know the content and apply to the real life. That is what is envisaged by that 30%, whereas 20% and 50% objective type as well as short answer, long answer, that was there earlier, but that will be continued. The 30% is a new thing. The new circular that has come now, that is 2 days back, circular number 51, dated 5/7/2021. Now this circular has a few important things, and I would like to explain to here. The special scheme of for 21-22. So this is a scheme only for 2021-22, not for next following year. If pandemic continues, they may say it for the next year as well, but this is specially related to the next year. What are the important things highlighted here? First one, academic session to be divided into 2 terms with approximately 50% syllabus in each of them, each of the term. That means so far we had annual system. Now they are saying there will be 2 terms. Okay, term 1 and term 2, what we do for class 1 to 5. And the syllabus will be equally divided 50-50. The syllabus for the board examination 2021-22 will be rationalized. What does that mean? It means that a certain part of the syllabus may be reduced or maybe sort of rationalized. Practically it means here and there they may cut short certain things. That is what it means. The third aspect will be efforts will be made to make internal assessment, practical project work more credible and valid. What does that mean? It means that perhaps they may ask us to upload immediately, say for example, periodic test marks have to be uploaded immediately, and maybe certain things we may have to upload and leave it to the board to decide. So that is another change which has been initiated. Usually earlier it is, or so far we have to send it at the end of the year. So this could come about this change, internal assessment we may have to upload maybe time to time. So that may be the implication, but we do not know as yet what exactly that implication means. This is what is interpreted. The second aspect is details of curriculum transaction. Classes 9 and 10 internal assessment throughout the year, irrespective of term 1 and term 2, would include 3 periodic tests: student enrichment, portfolio, practical work, speaking, listening activities, projects. So this is normal for all the 9th and 10th standard students. That means whatever has been done last year, previous year, will continue in terms of internal assessment. That is, we used to have 3 periodic tests, and all the enrichment, subject enrichment, portfolio, all this will continue as it is. There is no change. The second aspect would be school would create a student profile for all assessment undertaken over the year and relation and retain the evidences in digital format. You see, now they are telling us to retain all the evidences in digital format. Even though we conduct the exam online mode, we need to download and keep as per the student folder and keep all that in that profile of the student. Third aspect is term examination. Term 1 examination will be in November, December, 90 minutes, 50% syllabus, MCQ, case based as well as reasoning or and assertion. Schools to conduct the exam with the external observer may be appointed by the CBSE. OMR sheets will be given. If situation improves, theory part would be there. So it is almost clear that term 1 what type of examination, and there will be both MCQ as well as theory based questions. So in case if the situation is not improving, then we will have only the MCQ based questions, but which includes reasoning and assertion, whatever. Term 2 examination March April 2022, 2 hours, 50% syllabus, question paper, objective, short answer, long answer. If situation does not permit, MCQ of 90 minutes, same like the first one. So here also the same one, theory part would be there if situation improves, and in the second term also, if situation does not improve, it will go back to type of term 1 examination. The fourth aspect of this circular is assessment examination as per different situation. The CBSE is visualizing 4 types of situation. What are the 4 types of situation? The first situation is if the situation improves, that is the pandemic situation improves, board would conduct term 1 and term 2 examination at schools or centers, and the theory marks will be distributed equally between the 2 exams. So if the situation improves now itself, so there will be equal weightage given to the exams, both term 1 and term 2. Second situation, pandemic situation that they are visualizing, complete closure of schools during November, December 2021, but term 2 exams are held. So term 1 MCQ based examination would be done. The weightage of this exam is reduced. Term 2 exam weightage will be increased for declaration of final result. So if the November, December there is closure, more weightage will be given for term 2. That is what it means. But the examination, as I said, either 90 minutes or 2 hours, whatever. The third situation that they are imagining is a complete closure of schools during March, April 2022, but term 1 exams are held. That means point number 2 will be considered with the difference of in weightage. That means greater weightage will be given to term 1. In the second point, it is a greater weightage in the term 2. So it is all depends on the situation. Fourth situation is, complete closure of schools, both the terms and the exam taken from home in online mode. So in this case, result would be computed on the basis of the internal assessment or practical work or the project. So here the complete closure of schools, both the terms. So what do we do? The exams will be held, the MCQs will be held, and it may be online mode. The schools have to make sure that the exam takes place, both the exams, and the school will be asked to consolidate the marks based on the objective criteria which will be given by the CBSE. So these are the 4 types of situations imagined by the CBSE, and they have given the guidelines. The third aspects I would like to focus here is principles for supporting continuity of learning and children's well-being. Of course, this aspect more will be spoken by Dr. Shalini, the resource person. I will just in a cursive way highlight few important things. First one is creating a safe and engaging environment. Dear parents, we are continuing with the online classes, and therefore the home becomes the school as well. So a separate place for the child, and maybe a kind of a schedule to be made for the child, and various aspects to be there, like relaxation time, there is time for reading, there is time for attending the classes, there is time to play, there is time to view the TV, play with these siblings, all the things to be made, like no, and perhaps classes 6 to 10, I would expect that the children themselves make the schedules and show to the parents and make sure that you just oversee that, and in fact if they have not done it well, to guide them and make a schedule for the whole day so that they have enough time for study, sufficient time to attend the classes, and at the same time sufficient time for their relaxation as well as some sort of play. Second aspect is creating a positive learning environment. Perhaps when they are since they are studying at home and attending the classes, a very important thing is having a learning environment at home. There are many members in the house, and of course there is a lot of things that is happening, but can the family set aside some time for the children to study? Say, I would say 2 to 3 hours, or two to 2.5 or to 3 hours. There is sort of like no silence in the house, there is no TV put there, and the children are made to sit in a corner or in the house in a room, and they sit and study. They also have specific time to in a way light their notes as well. So this is creating a positive learning environment where the members of the family cooperate with the situation. The third is using positive disciplining. Discuss with the child, reason out. See, positive disciplining is very important. Shouting or maybe at times showing sort of stick and telling the child keep quiet and do the things will not go a long way. What is important is discussing with the child, reasoning out, seeing the consequences, and helping the child to know what is most important. These are all positive ways of disciplining the child. So to looking into that discipline aspect. The fourth aspect is have fun with the children. There should be social connectivity. You like no, you may be working, but at the same time when you come back to connect with your children, spend some time with the children, ask them what is happening at who about their studies, so also what has happened in the school, and what has been taught, and at the same time like no have share certain lighter moments, ask them to narrate certain things, stories, or what funny things happened in the class, and that way have certain fun with the children. Fifth one is have realistic expectation from the child. Maybe like no, we have some goals and so on, but at this moment what is important is have a realistic expectation from the child. That means that like no, there is an ideal way to look at things, wanting the child to attend full 100% class or full 100% being there at the study table and studying. This is an ideal thing, but if the child can put in regular kind of classes, put in a regular kind of study, may not be to the extent of like no full 3 hours, but at least the child is there and studying, and that is to encourage the child, and so that like no, the child is able to slowly meet up to your expectation. Immediately, not to force the child to ideal situation. The sixth is taking care of health and eat healthy, sleep routines and exercise. This is also an important aspect. Taking care of your own health as parents, and at the same time taking care of the children. Food, the sleep part of it, and exercise. Tell the children to do some exercise. Yoga is taught and certain exercises are taught from the school, but at the same time if children also can exercise by themselves, eat healthy food and have good sleep, and at the same time have like no other things with them. So manage all these aspects. They need to go early to bed, at least by 10:30 or 11, and get up by 6 o'clock, and they are there to do the rest of the things. Become aware of the learning goals of your child. That is also an important thing. Be aware and vigilant. Maybe your child getting used to the mobile, you need to be aware what is happening. A little bit observation of what is happening with the child, and not to sort of like scold the child, but rather inquire about it, guide the child. If need be, please seek for guidance from the school. There is counselor in the school. You can seek guidance from the counselor also. 10th aspect is parents as partners with teachers. You are partners with teachers. You are teachers at home, and you will have to in a way help the child to learn things. You are taking an additional role here, and you can always consult the teachers and help your child to learn things and help them to progress in their studies. For working parents, you may have to get back home and maybe to know inquire with your children what is happening. At the same time, maybe to have certain mechanism to find out whether children have attended the class. You may have to also check their notes and see what is happening. Working parents may have to take a little additional sort of observation or precautions in terms of looking after supervising your own children. I have few other things to mention. I will just cursively inform to you at this moment, and I will move forward. First of all, in terms of academics, encourage your ward to be attentive during the online classes. Encourage them to be attentive. Let your ward keep a point book to note down the points discussed in the class. Maybe a jotting down book is important, so that the child doesn't miss out anything. Of course the notes are given, but additional notes is also very helpful. Study on daily basis for about 2.5 hours. I encourage this for all the students. Make sure that your child, your children study at least 2.5 hours to 3 hours, which is very important for class 9th and 10th. Better to make a timetable of this. Fourth one, assignments, notes, record work, and certain activities are part of the curriculum and need to be attended on time. Children need to attend to this. As you already saw in terms of assessment, these are considered as very important, and it will go along with the internals. Diagrams, physics problems, equation, mathematics need to be practiced on a regular basis. Encourage your ward to participate actively in class discussions. Need monitoring both online classes as well as their study. Both these things are required. Of course, online classes, we know who is there, who is not there. But the study, my dear parents, I encourage all of you to at least to know what is happening. The assessment part, already I have informed to you. Internal assessment, already told to you, 3 periodic tests, subject enrichment, portfolio, and multiple assessment activities, 20 marks. External assessment, class 10, term 1 and term 2 exam, 20 marks. Class 9, annual exam will be there. We are not going for term 1 and term 2 for class 9. It will be annual exam only, 80 marks. We expect the students to be honest while writing the online exam. Must send the images of answer script to PDF in the PDF form in a correct form, which they are doing it. We would like them to follow this in the days to come. Need to prepare well for the exams and schedule, and should not depend on any other resources during online exams. The sincerity from the children is very much expected. Should attend the test quizzes conducted by the teacher without fail. Reading and understanding the questions is important. Handwriting to be legible. So these are some of the important things in terms of assessment, if the children can take care of them. The co-curricular activities. Co-curricular activities are organized for the holistic development of students. Encourage your ward to participate in the various activities organized by the school. Of course, they are not compulsory, but at the same time, we encourage as many students if they can participate, so that it helps them to grow in their life. Students should participate in the activities using their own creative ideas. School provides platform for students to exhibit their talents in various areas. Encourage maximum participation. Inform class teacher if your child has won any prizes in competition organized outside the school, so that we can take note of it. We keep a ledger about all the achievements of the children. So it helps us also maybe to mention in the annual magazine. And the last part that I would like to highlight is the behavioral aspect. This is an important thing. in terms of behavior. As you know, character formation is an important objective of the school. Character is truly education. So this aspect I would like to highlight to all of you. Students need to inform the class teacher if they are unable to join the class, not that they just skip and do not inform. They need to inform. And if they are taking leave for the day, 2 or 3 or more than that, they need to send an email to me. The parents have to send an email, or 1 or 2 days, to inform the teachers. If there are any audio issues, kindly inform or answer the teacher through the chat box. This is students have to do it. Students' behavior in terms of obedience and respect is an important aspect. The students, of course there are be like the students, because of the situation, may have emotional kind of turmoil with them, but at the same time certain amount of respect and obedience is expected from the students. Should be well dressed and away from all other distractions. Again, this is a challenge, but we expect them to be away from distraction. Of course, dressing neatly for the class is an important aspect. Timely respond to the messages sent by the teachers in WhatsApp. Check the school app regularly. As you know, the school app, the school sends all the circulars in the school app. Make sure or make a point to see every day what has been posted. It takes a second to just open and see the school app, and I'm sure there will be circulars or a message waiting for you, and perhaps you would know what is happening in the school or to your ward. So these are some of the important things that I as principal wanted to inform to you, or as the teachers of their classes wanted to inform to you. So this is a certain briefing that we would wanted to do for all of you, class 9th and 10th standard students' parents. So this is a kind of a briefing, my dear parents. Of course, this is the first one we are having, and of course we will continue briefing you, maybe separately, because class 10 requires certain more briefing in terms of the assessment and other aspects of the students, and we also will follow up with the class 9 parents as well. So these are some things I wanted to inform to all of you. Thanks for all of you for being present for this session, and I now request all of you to attend to the resource person, the input session, and I'm sure she will highlight more aspects on how you could help your children, your wards, in terms of their studies, in terms of how to connect with them, and all other aspects, the overall behavior or the development of your wards. So over to the master of the ceremony, Ms. Deepa Karkada.
Thank you, Father, for sharing your valuable thoughts and inspiring message. I request Dr. Shalini Ayappa to take over the session.
And very good evening to Reverend Father Melvin Lobo, the principal of Gonzaga School, the staff, and my dear parents. So this is on a virtual platform that I'm kind of just probably voicing the thoughts of your children. Probably I'm putting myself in the shoes of your children. They are adolescents, and I'm trying to kind of understand and feel what it feels like once again to be an adolescent. Because it's only when we do that that we are able to kind of understand them, and that's exactly what I do. Though I do have a teenage daughter, I have to constantly put myself in that shoes and feel and think and see what it feels like to be an adolescent. I would like to share the screen just a moment. So, if you see the first slide, I begin with parents age as much as 20 years when their children hit their teens. Why? Because you know what your children are going through right now, the stage that they are in. They probably stepped into this maybe 2-3 years earlier. And this will kind of go on. It will not end when your children complete their 10th grade. It will not end when your children complete their pre-university. It will not end when your children complete your graduation too, or even post-graduation, because the process actually is completed when they reach 25 years of age. That means it's a very long process. That's the reason why parents age as much as 20 years when their children hit their teens. And I think that's also important because that will also give us parents to kind of age very gracefully. That's also very important because that's exactly another conflict that I see between parents and the teenagers and adolescents is parents are also kind of refusing to uh, age gracefully. And I think aging gracefully is something that's very important. Uh, and I also have mentioned that parents are an embarrassment, especially right now. I think your wards are in the ninth and the 10th grade. And not until they are about 18, 19 that they would feel comfortable having their parents around, especially in the presence of their friends and teachers, of course, because they don't want the teachers to complain about them or say anything about them because it causes a lot of embarrassment. So parents are an embarrassment. Not because they don't like you, not because they don't trust you, not because they don't have any kind of an affection or anything. It is all there, but it's just that they want to feel like they are grown up. So they wouldn't like any of these cuddling and hugging and all that the parents do. Probably if it is done in the confines of their homes they are very happy, but not outside their homes. So parents are always an embarrassment because sometimes parents blurt out certain things which for adolescents it is like what will my friends think about you? They will think that you don't know anything. Maybe even their parents also would have the same kind of questions, but for adolescents it's always like, my friends' parents are much more maybe they are much better than my parents. So for adolescents it's always like that, others parents are much better than their own parents. And I think this process all of us have kind of gone through. So only thing is, our children are in a generation now where the kind of distractions that they have are different. The challenges that they have are a little different. Unlike um, our generation, where I think we were fortunate that we did not have technology then, uh, because it is not easy to be not be hooked onto a screen, and at the same time it's like if you are not a part of this generation then you feel isolated. You feel the child will feel that he or she doesn't belong. So it's not an easy task for the adolescents of this generation. So maybe we were very fortunate. So parents are an embarrassment. And why today, again, it's not just today, even in our times also, we have kind of experimented and tried on different hats to see which one would fit us. And then we have kind of ultimately found one particular hat which fits us. Now, why we did it and why our children are doing it is again because we are trying to find a face. So your children are trying to find a face of their own. So they are likely to experiment with a lot of things. And this is a stage where they need to explore. So they've just begun exploring now. And this exploration will go on for another 4-5 years before they can ultimately kind of say that this is what I am, this is my identity, this is something that I can do. But I think it's important that you as parents, you need to facilitate that process. And I think it's a little more challenging for you because of the pandemic and the socio-emotional dialogue that happens beyond their homes, in the school, with the teachers, with their friends, um, and even maybe acquaintances, like, when they step out of their homes. A lot of these things are kind of restricted. And anyway, let's hope that this pandemic will be over soon. But still, the entire parenting kind of it has become very challenging because of the pandemic and the restrictions and the lack of social interactions and the socio-emotional dialogue that comes with attending a school and participating in school activities, and then interacting with your friends, having kind of conflicts with your friends and making up with your friends and interacting with the teachers. Now all this is, I wouldn't say that it's completely missing. Now, this is where technology is a blessing because children are still able to kind of connect, but on a virtual platform, which definitely cannot replace face to face interaction, because our mind and body is not actually designed for it. As much as it is a convenience today, technology is a convenience and we see it as a blessing, especially during the pandemic. Definitely, our mind and body is not something that is designed for, an interaction through technology. So, if I have to probably again be a voice of the parents, your adorable, affectionate child, you are kind of finding this child becoming a little distant and is also kind of wanting to spend more time with friends rather than family. Now, what exactly do you do? I mean, is it really affecting you? And I know that it does affect the parents, and um, parents generally have these concerns about the children because they find that what happened to my child who would sit down and talk, and or maybe I invited him or her for a conversation and the child would all be there for a conversation, and I find that the child is kind of slowly distancing himself or herself and spending more time chatting with the friends, because right now it is chatting with the friends in the real sense, as in like through technology, and they're not really having face to face interaction. But you do find that they're spending a lot of time talking to their friends, and they don't really want to be a part of whatever happens in the family. Now, what could be how do you actually kind of navigate through this, the changes that your children are going through? And when parents have teens or adolescents, generally these are the reactions that you hear from friends and family. When you tell them that you have a child of this age, some say, oh wow, and some of them are like, oh no, you have an adolescent child. And for some it is like, oh, it's so amazing to have a child who is an adolescent. I mean, I think these kind of responses that you get simply shows the kind of diverse experiences that parents also have with adolescents. Just as much your children have to navigate the stress and strain of this long transformation and a transition process. And if you look at the transition of from a pupa to from an egg to a pupa and then a butterfly, I think your children are also going through this transition, but it is a lot of stress and strain that they are experiencing. Just as much they also experience the stress and strain, parents also have to experience this. But I wouldn't want to tell you that this experience is one of stress and strain, because then the way you would approach your children would be maybe very negative. So it's important that you, maybe for them it is a stress and a strain because they have to manage their hormones, they have to manage the bodily changes, there are cognitive changes happening in their social environment. There are a whole lot of changes, and they are not equipped with all the skills, or they do not have all the resources, and they are experiencing it for the first time. So that makes it really hard for them. But I think the parents need not really look at it as a stress and a strain, but I would want parents to experience and enjoy this whole process of your children growing up, and watch this entire transformation that happens, um, maybe by just making a few shifts here and there. And if you can make this shift, because this is what I have done with my child, and this is what I do, because I constantly interact with the younger generation. So it's just a small shift that parents have to make, and the shift is all about, there are three things that I have put down, and one is you just need to understand and collaborate. Always remember, up until your children complete 25 years of age. Now, why I say 25 is because you have to facilitate this process until then. And after that, they are better able to see the consequences of their actions. So in order to facilitate this process, it's very important that parents make a small shift in the way they approach their children, in the way you interact with them, in the way you respond to them. Now, I wouldn't want to say react, because reaction has a very negative tone. But I would say that it's important for you to respond to them. So how do you respond to them? How do you make this, or how do you enjoy this entire transition process? How will you help them to make this transition? One is understand them and then collaborate with them. It takes a lot of your effort. And let me tell you, it is worth it. Because if you think that when my child doesn't do something right, I need to give my peace of mind, yes, because I need to make them know that this is something that um, I don't approve of. But how do you do it? A lot of times parents shout and scream. Now, the minute you shout and scream, the adolescent brain just shuts off. So they don't hear anything of what you have said. The reason why, again, probably the next day, you will again end up shouting and screaming, and you'll add one more line to it, and the line is, didn't you hear me saying it yesterday? Didn't I tell you yesterday? Now, the child actually has not heard anything of what you have said yesterday because you shouted and you screamed. The adolescent brain just shuts off. The engine goes off. But if you can just very calmly but firmly put it across to them, every word of what you have said, the brain has to listen. The brain has no choice but to listen and to understand. So there is no room for you to shout and scream the next day. This is where I said understand and collaborate. I will talk a little more in detail about that. Then the second thing that you need to do, a shift, is if you've been using this right from the time the child was small, it is wonderful, because then you don't have to make the shift when they reach the adolescent stage. And it also becomes very easy for parents handle their adolescents if they have used this mode of parenting, having a dialogue with your children. So if you have not, then you need to make this shift and you need to have a dialogue with them. And the third thing which you need to do is you need to help them and see the connection between the choice and consequence. They need to understand that any choice that I make, there is a consequence that follows that choice. So you have to help them to think about the consequence, because that brain, especially your children, the age that they are in, definitely they are not able to think beyond their noses. They simply cannot see the consequences of the choices that they make. So they end up making wrong choices. So since the brain is incapable of seeing the consequence of the choices they make, it's important for you to step in and help them see that connection. But your children will um, agree to see that choice consequence connection only when you have a dialogue with them. If you shout and scream, well, they simply refuse to see that choice consequence connection. But if you have a dialogue with them, it is very easy for you to get them to see the connection between the choice and consequence. So what are the kind of changes that they kind of go through? What is it that they experience at this point of time? And I think all these changes that they experience is also an important part of growing up. So some of the changes that they kind of go through are physical changes, which I need not talk about, cognitive changes, changes in their thought process, changes in their personality. You are actually kind of noticing, and it's going to become more and more pronounced as children grow older. And I think it's important for parents to become aware of this, and parents also need to be sensitive to these changes. Social changes in terms of their friends, the kind of connections that they would like to have. And when they are not able to connect with their friends, when they are not able to connect with their parents, then they connect with substances. So you have to be very careful. It has got nothing to do with family background, as people used to say. I definitely do not agree with that, because children are exposed to these situations. That's why I said it's important for us to put ourselves in their shoes and see what it feels like. So they are likely to be influenced by their peer group. And like I said, they're trying to find a face of their own. They're trying to carve an identity for themselves. And in a bid to do that, they're likely to experiment with a lot of things. So if there is a dialogue back at home with the parents, if they have an open communication with their parents, then it becomes very easy for children to take refuge in their parents, to get clarity whenever there is a little bit of a confusion, or when they have to make certain decisions, they will consult the parents because they have faith in their parents. Because the parents will get into a dialogue with them. Parents are not going to dismiss what they say, but then the parents will sit down and say, okay, let's talk about it. Let's see what's on your mind. Let's see how we can arrive at a conclusion. Let's see how we can arrive at a decision. You know, how we can arrive at a decision. So the minute you say how we can arrive at a decision, what is the feeling that the child gets? It's like, I'm not alone. At the same time, I have an opportunity to voice out what I feel and what I think. That is very comforting, especially when it comes from the parents, because parents are the basic security base for their children. So when parents say that, let's see how we can arrive at this, it becomes very easy for children, because then they definitely would like to sit down and talk about it. And when they may arrive at a decision, it's not completely imposed by the parents, but it's a dialogue which ultimately leads to that decision. And then, well, parent issues are there. We'll talk about that, and independence and communication. And I think these um, changes, every adolescent would definitely go through. So the whole question is, what is it that you want to kind of understand about them, or what is it that you have to understand about them? You need to understand that they're going through these changes. And when they're going through these changes at the cognitive level, it's important that you use reason. You need to reason it out with them. When you reason out what happens, you're actually using a dialogue. You're getting into a dialogue. A dialogue is a conversation. I'm not imposing my thoughts and ideas onto you, but I would get into a conversation where if my child is, if I feel that my child's demands are a little unreasonable, then I sit down and say, okay, let's come, let's sit down and talk about it. And you could also tell the child that maybe if I were in your place, probably this is how I would look at it, or maybe this is the step that I would take. So what are you doing? You're giving them an opportunity to reflect on that. You're not saying that your thoughts are completely wrong. You're not dismissing their feelings. You're not dismissing their thoughts. But then you're giving them an opportunity to talk, to reflect, and then to arrive at a decision, not necessary that it has to be done immediately, but then we can always wait. So the brain is not able to, that's why I said choice they will make. And when they make, they are likely to make wrong choices. I'm not saying that all the time, but they are likely to make wrong choices. Why? Because the brain is not capable of seeing the consequences. So forward planning and thinking about the future requires more development in the brain, and it takes 25 years to complete its development. This is the reason why usually they make very poor decisions, whether it is maybe when they go on a school trip somewhere. That there are instances where children have gotten into alcohol use, and they have gotten into some kind of risky behaviors. So let us not think that our children will not get into it, but there are opportunities for them. There are opportunities for them, because I meet children of all age groups day in and out, so I know what are the risks and the kind of risks that children take, and especially today because of their exposure to technology, because they have everything that they want at the tip of their fingers. So whether it is sexual experimentation, but again, let us not jump into conclusions. Even if something of that kind happens, that the child is a bad child, and you kind of label the child and then not allow the child to uh, um, lead a normal life. But anyway, I do not want to go into that, but I just want to say that here, that why their reasoning is very poor when it comes to these aspects is basically because of lack of development in the brain. That's the reason why it's important that the school and the parents kind of facilitate this whole process, and to facilitate that process a dialogue is very much necessary. It's not that they don't see the logic behind it, they do, but their capacity to see through the consequences is very limited, and that is the reason why they make wrong choices. So this results in a lot of challenging bumps in their lives. When it comes to their personality, they have a lot of question about who they are. They're getting into that identity crisis now, and the crisis is not a bad crisis, but it causes a lot of discomfort, because understand that your children at this point in the ninth and the 10th grade, they have just begun to explore. And they are in that moratorium phase where they are exploring. They want to see which one will actually fit me. It is this question that they have about themselves as to who I am, who I want to be. Now, the crisis is, it centers around who they want to be, their morality, philosophy, temperament, in terms of displaying their gender or sexuality, or whether their interest in politics or the social stances that they take, or the kind of career identity. See, they have a crisis about all this. They are exploring. They are very, very vulnerable. Remember, your children at this stage are very, very vulnerable. They are like that. That's the reason why others' parents are always nice than my own parents. They're very vulnerable because their personality is undergoing a change. They're trying to see which hat will fit them, which one will fit me. Now, again, understand, because of the pandemic and lack of interaction that's happening with the outside world, these children are suffering and it could have an impact on their identity too. So as much as possible, give them an opportunity to explore. I think when the school invites them for a few days, it's nice that they come to school and have that interaction. Or maybe in the neighborhood, if there's an opportunity for them to connect and have that interaction, please allow that. Maybe following all the safety protocols, but that is so important for their identity formation. So they are exploring, they are in that moratorium phase. And this exploration doesn't stop here. I told you this exploration will continue, and then slowly it will taper off and kind of come to an end. It should come to an end. Depends on how you facilitate this process. If you make choices for them, then they are not exploring certain things on their own. So what happens? There is a foreclosure, and the foreclosure will not help them to achieve that identity. So don't foreclose it for them by making choices. But when they make choices, be there, as in like you can help them to explore the choices, the things that are available to them, and then ultimately help them to make an informed choice. But don't foreclose it by making a choice for them. Just 2 days back, I had this couple and with their child who's just in the 11th standard, and the child has been put in an institution where the child has to prepare for all these national level entrance exams and all that. And I think this was a choice. From my conversation, I understood that this was a choice that was made by the mother, and the father is kind of very open to a lot of things. But I think the child's interaction with the father was restricted, but then the interaction was more with the mother, and the mother was kind of has made this choice for the child. And the child feels that at this point I need to drop a year and then start all over again. See, this is what happens when it leads to a lot of confusion when parents make a choice for their children. Facilitate this process of making a choice. Don't make a choice, but be there when they are making a choice so that they can get into a dialogue with you. So when it comes to the social changes, they kind of want to be more independent from their parents. Just yesterday, I had this parent and the father and the son. And the son says that I would like to go to Mumbai and some bigger city for my studies, but I don't want to study in the college that I'm in right now. I don't want to continue here. And the father is not in a position to convince the boy. And the boy says, I would like to be independent. I want to be away from my parents and I want to do things on my own. I want to be responsible. Now, this is a normal part of growing up. So they want to become independent, and that is, it has just begun with your children. So you need to understand that you need to understand. It's not the other way, but you need to understand. A lot of times I hear parents saying, my children just don't understand me. Now, who's much older? Who's much wiser? If I can understand and I don't scream and shout because I understand, then that adolescent brain can remain calm. As it is, they are going through a whole lot of confusion. And when parents don't understand them, I told you that's the most secure base from which they have to operate. Do not think that the security will come from elsewhere. They have to operate from this secure base, that is the parents. But when that does not happen and you don't give them that freedom to explore, it becomes very difficult for the children. See, they like to get that security from the peer group. It's fine. They feel a little secure with the peer group because there are certain things which they do not want to share with you. They definitely would like to share with their peer group. It's fine. They need to share with their peer group. And then slowly this whole thing of dating, and this dating and all is not of a Western concept. It has come into our country. Our children are also doing it. Maybe you're not aware of it. And with technology, it is becoming much more easier, but also more complicated because there is a lot of danger there. A lot of soliciting happens on through technology, and if you do not keep pace with that, so how do you keep pace with that? You just have to ask your children, sit down and have a dialogue with them. Just ask them. It's okay to feel vulnerable in front of your children. Technology is something that we may find a little difficult to understand, or maybe we take a little more time to understand. So there, if you can just sit down and ask your child, like, I mean, what exactly is this? How exactly do you operate this? What exactly happens here? They feel very happy because there is something that my mom or dad doesn't know, which I know. But what happens in this whole process is you get to know how safe your child is. You're not asking a direct question. A direct question like, I mean, are you on this dating site? Well, the child will definitely be defensive and say that no. But if you want to know how it works, how it operates, and how safe your child is, get into a dialogue, get into a conversation. They will simply tell you what exactly happens. And then probably you can see the minute you start that conversation, the child feels very comfortable. And then if you pose a question as to, I mean, how did you come to know of it? They will still tell you the truth. Now, this is how you need to have a dialogue with them. So there are many such teachable moments that we get. And we just need to use those teachable moments. So if you look at the hierarchy of relationships, the family comes last. So slowly you find that your children are spending more time here with friends, peers. Then they will also get into this forming relationships, having a boyfriend and a girlfriend. Also understand that why they get it's not abnormal to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, but they are also under pressure because for them in within their group it is mandatory to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, because if you don't have one, then it seems like you're not normal. So understand why they are doing it. So this is where if they can operate from the secure base, they will have the courage, they will be assertive, and they will have the courage to say, this is the reason why I do not want to have a just a boyfriend or just a girlfriend, but I wouldn't mind having friends. See, they only if they operate from the secure base. But understand why there is a pressure, because within that group, there is a pressure for them to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend. And if they don't have one, then it is considered to be abnormal. What I'm trying to tell you is this is something that you will have to be aware of, not just for this moment and for this year and the next year, but then till they are about 25. It is very, very important. And the two parent issues which most parents struggle with is children are pushing for independence. I want freedom, but they don't see that freedom and responsibility, they go together. Choice, consequence, they go together. This is where you have to facilitate. And their incapacity to communicate. Most of the time, they don't want to communicate. When do they want to communicate? You have to communicate when they want you to they want to communicate with you, not when you want to communicate with them. Just yesterday, I had a parent, uh, a couple, who said that, the minute I tell my son that, come, let me just sit down and have a chat with you. And he says, oh, mama, it's the usual thing, your advice. I'm bored of it. Why don't we just talk a little about your childhood? Now, talk about things which interest them, not which interests you. See, they will not be willing to communicate with you because you call them at the wrong time when their moods are low and they're going through these mood swings. And when they want to communicate, you dismiss saying that I'm a little busy now. They will never come back to you. So always remember, the minute they say that they would like to sit down and talk to you or they would like to share something with you, whatever that you are doing, keep it aside. It is a big moment. It is a teachable moment. It is an opportunity for you to have a dialogue. You are not initiating it, but they are initiating it. Use that big moment and just keep aside whatever that you are doing, sit down and start a conversation with them. And you will see sometimes it can go beyond 2 hours, beyond 3 hours, because that is what their brain is at this moment. So parents are usually criticized, parents are ostracized. So you should be ready for this in the next few years. They will criticize you. My parents know nothing. It's better to keep them away because they don't know anything. So they are ostracized. Parents are also marginalized. It's like parents are out of touch. What do they know? The world is changing so much. So a lot of times you'll hear them saying that, Mama, you don't know anything, or Dada, you don't know anything. It's like, I know. This is an issue which you will have to deal with, which is very easy if you get into a dialogue. So understand that there is a quest for independence. All you have to do is collaborate with them, agree on what is appropriate. The third is communication. They don't want to be told what to do. They will avoid talking with their parents. They do not want to discuss their lives. This is where I said, when they want to talk, sit down and talk to them. And when they don't, when children kind of ostracize you, when they criticize you, again, you find a lot of parents feel rejected. I know that parents kind of throw a tantrum. So sometimes you wonder who's actually older. Is it the child or the parent? I think that's where I said three major shifts that you need to make is you need to understand. So if you feel rejected, you feel abused, that means probably you're not having a dialogue with them. You've not really kind of understood them. Please keep this in mind, need to be aware of this. I think Father Principal also mentioned about the importance of sleep. Let me tell you the neuroscience behind this, especially now that children are on online mode for their classes and they are spending more and more time on with technology. It definitely is going to have an impact on their sleep because uh, the sleep is one thing is they are in a phase where their entire biology is very different from that what it was while they were children, little children, before they got into the stage, and what it would be when they go into the adulthood phase. So right now their entire biology itself is very different. And for a child to fall asleep, it's important that the child follows a certain kind of a sleep ritual. And today what is happening is maybe our times, not that we could fall asleep very easily because at this stage they can stay awake till late in the morning and then go to bed early hours of morning and wake up probably mid-afternoon. Now that is their biology. But what is happening is the technology is actually kind of disturbing this process further because of the light that is emitted by either it is the phone or the television or the whatever that is. It is the technology which is just a moment, I'm just connecting. Yes, the technology is creating a lot of havoc here because when children spend a lot of time in front of technology, there is a particular hormone that the body produces, which is very important for us to fall asleep. That is melatonin. And that there is an increase in the production of this only when it becomes dark. And then it reduces during the day. Now, what happens is when children use technology, this production of the hormone is disturbed, which disturbs their sleep. As it is, they are not able to fall asleep that easily. But the problem is aggravated further by the use of technology. And when they don't sleep, no child can sleep for less than 8 hours, especially during this stage. They are in the growth period. When they don't sleep, they are not able to retain information. They can't consolidate the information what they have learned during the day. So their cognitive capacity comes down. When it comes to new, this is something that you have to monitor. So that means you should have certain rules in your homes. So even if your child says that in my friend's home it is different, it doesn't matter. You have to be firm. And when I say firm, it is also where you're having a dialogue with them. You're making them understand as to why you insist on certain things or why we have certain rules in our home. When it comes to nutrition, see, your children are again feeling very low. And also today, because there is lack of face-to-face interaction with other than the family members, no interaction is happening. Even if it is happening, it is through technology. Again, when it is only when we engage in a face-to-face conversation that the body also produces certain neurotransmitters which enhances your moods. That's for all of us. But understand that your children are, as it is going through a kind of a change, a transition here, and their biology is, as it is, different and it is a little disturbed. And the pandemic is again causing a lot of trouble. So it is important that you make sure that there is no screen time at home. And when it is no screen time, that means even the father and mother also are not using their phones or any technology. So it is where nobody uses any of this and you are sitting down and probably talking or having a meal together minus technology. And for your children, because of their mood swings, that is also because of lack of zinc. So you need to give them food which is rich in zinc, which will enhance their moods, because zinc is the one that regulates the two neurotransmitters which um, enhances their or lifts up their spirits, the serotonin and the dopamine. So zinc is the one that is actually regulating this. And if there is lack of zinc, and usually the brain is left with very little zinc because it is absorbed by the rest of the body, the bones. So it's important that zinc is made a part of their regular diet. So, and when I say diet, today because of social media and what I see on the Instagram and the cases that I deal with, I find that, this is a stage where they're very conscious about their appearance. They are very conscious about their how they look and their weight and every part of their body. And without your knowledge, possible that they are going on a diet. So if they are refusing certain kind of food which they've been eating for long, and you find that they're refusing to eat that, then I think you need to be watchful. You really need to monitor this, because sometimes dieting can be dangerous. So you need to keep a watch over this. Now, understand that the underlying biology behind all this is why the changes, why they rebel, why they kind of don't openly express their affection and they don't like it, especially in front of their friends. Now, all this is basically because their brain is a work in progress. So your children are getting a second chance where their brain is forming new connections, and these connections will depend on what kind of experience they have at this point. So it is a second decade of a man's life. And there is another opportunity that has come along where they can shed old connections and they can form new connections. And these connections, what they form now, up until 25 years of age, it's going to stay with them for the rest of their lives. This is the reason why I said it's important for you to help them to see the connection between a choice and a consequence. So even when children take to certain addictions, like I said, if I'm not able to connect with another human being, then I will connect with a substance. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Because for human beings to connect with another human being is very, very basic. It is as basic as eating and drinking. So if I'm not able to connect with my parents, if I'm not able to connect with people, then I connect with substances, I connect with technology. But that is not what we are meant for. And these addictions happen inside the brain. So there is an opportunity, and any child who begins to take these substances during the adolescent stage, generally their prognosis is very poor, as in like it is very, very difficult for them to get out of that habit. Because what gets addicted is the brain, and the brain takes a very long time to heal once it gets addicted to something. So addictions to constructive things, well and good. But addictions where it results in self-destruction, I think you need to be careful. Need to be careful. Because it's a time where a stage where their brain is still a work in progress. So it is forming new connections. So what experiences you give them now will stay with them for the rest of their lives. And why are they doing all this? Let's understand that they're slowly breaking away from their childhood attachments to develop their own independent identity. So it's a time of both disorientation and discovery. They will formulate their own values. They will slowly come up with their own philosophy. And if you can journey with them, and if you can facilitate this process, I think it's easier for them to make this transition. Let me tell you, it is not that easy. It's not an easy process given the technological distractions that they have today. It takes a lot of courage because there is a constant threat to their self-esteem along with the hormonal changes. They are conscious about their appearance, their body image. So there is a constant threat. So it is not an easy process. What is it that you can do? You just need to be more empathetic than judgmental. Don't make judgments. Be very empathetic. How can you be empathetic? Put yourself in their shoes and see how it feels. When a child comes to you and says that, Mama, I have liked this boy or this girl in my class, and I just don't know how to get rid of this boy from my head or this girl from my head. Instead of being judgmental, it's like, that's not your priority at the moment. How could you fall in love with somebody? I mean, why shouldn't they fall in love with someone? We have all felt this. We have all gone through this. So put yourself in their shoes and feel what they are feeling. It becomes easy for you to respond to them. You will not react, but then you will respond to them. And with technology, things are more dangerous. So you have to be extra cautious. But what I generally again see is parents become hyper conscious of the changes and they're constantly, criticizing or questioning, or they become kind of more protective of their children. Sometimes they become very strict and also become very suspicious. And I think it's very important that you start dialoguing with them. When they feel um, understood, well, the kind of conversations that uh, I mean, the kind of conversation or where the conversation would lead is something that where the child is able to make kind of a very informed decision. Always remember they hold you in very high regard. And that's the reason why they also have conflicts with you when it comes to certain contentious issues. Because they know that there is a lot of comfort in fighting with you, having a conflict with you. They do hold you in high regard and they do trust you, but The trust will continue only if you dialogue with them. The trust will continue only if you um, um, understand them and respond to them. Father, I think,
Yeah.
have I crossed the time? Yes.
Yeah.
So maybe I will just leave you with this,
Yeah.
that if you can just, uh, instead of being a manager, if you can be a coach, if you can have a lot of hard conversations, facts of life, just talk openly about it, have an open communication with them. And if you can just be a part of their journey and walk along with them,
Yes.
put yourself in their shoes and see what it feels like and respond to them. It would be wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful inputs that you have given us. I'm sure these inputs will be of great help in the upbringing of our children and their overall development. It was an enriching session for all of us. Thank you once again, ma'am. If parents have any kind of queries or questions related to inputs given by Dr. Shalini, can type your questions in the chat box or you can raise hand. We could take up few questions for now, maybe 3 or 4 questions. I request Ms. Deepthi Karkada to take over the interaction session.
It's time to put forth your doubts and query. Now, as we begin this question and answer session, I request you to raise your hands because we have disabled the chat box and also the microphone. If you have any queries, please raise your hand. We will take it one by one. Parents, any questions, please raise your hands.
See, what I have given you is just maybe the tip of the iceberg, and because it's a long process, and it's nice to be a part of that journey. So if you have any questions, um, you can always ask.
Thank you, Ma'am Deepthi. Gratitude is the fairest blossom that springs from the soul. It is not joy that makes us grateful. It is gratitude that makes us joyful. I now call upon Ms. Sandhya Manoj to propose the vote of thanks.
Gratitude is a powerful catalyst for happiness. Good evening, Honorable Resource Person, respected Principal, Vice Principal, teachers, and your parents. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of the school on this occasion. My sincere thanks to our esteemed resource person of the day, Dr. Shalini Ayyappa, for gracing this occasion. Your valuable suggestion on parenting skills will definitely help our parents to understand their worth in a better way and also helps them to find out different ways of parenting. Thank you so much, ma'am.
My pleasure.
I would like to extend my hearty thanks to our principal, Father Melvin Anil Lobo SJ, for inspiring us to work with zeal and dedication. Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
I will also like to extend my thanks to our dear Vice Principal, Ms. Laurel D'Souza, for supporting and guiding us in all the endeavors. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our sincere gratitude goes to all parents for your rock solid support system and encouragement. Without your support, the children would never be able to achieve excellence in various fields. Thank you so much for attending this event, dear parents. Lastly, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to my dear colleagues. Thank you, dear teachers. Once again, thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Before we wind up, I
Thank,
just want to make it known that already 2 people have expressed their opinion. I think that's a good thing that at least we had some response. There is Tia Marian Eusti saying that that was a touch up on thoughts we may or may not have thought about. Thanks for the guidance. So also Hanan, thanks a lot for all your valuable suggestions, ma'am. It was really helpful for me. Very thankful, ma'am. Thank you so much for your great words. There is one more person, Vaibhavar. I would like to inform the parent that Dr. Shalini, the resource person, is available in the campus. You can always connect to her, and your children, class 10 children, will be having interaction with Dr. Shalini. There will be career guidance for them with her, and definitely you can have more interaction with her. So maybe there may not have been a chance here to ask questions. You can ask questions or clarify maybe once you come here, or maybe we can make available the email, and if you require, we will definitely help you to connect with her. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much, Father.
Yeah, welcome. Yes.
Yeah, I think, ma'am, you're getting a lot of positive inputs. We are getting messages from the chat box that most of our parents were benefited, and they are expressing their gratitude towards you.
Yes.
Thank you, Sandhya ma'am, also for your words of gratitude. We hope that you had a fruitful and enriching session, dear parents. Together, we can make our children's future wonderful and successful. So let's start sharing our thoughts, both teachers and parents, and make our children's life a better one. Wish you all a blessed year ahead. Thank you.